Okay, everything else can wait. I've got to talk about Into the Pit right now. We just learned about the next FNAF title coming out this year. We were not expecting this news so soon, and neither were the developers or Scott. Thanks, Scholastic. But we've been given the go-ahead to talk about this game, and let me tell you, I have thoughts. The story this game is based on has intrigued me for years, and I am beyond excited to see this adaptation. I have had pieces of a theory looming in my head surrounding this tale, but it always seemed a bit too out there. Now, I'm ready to share it. But before I do, here are my quick predictions about Into the Pit. Prediction 1. This game will be released August 8th, 2024. Scott Cawthon has stated that this will be a 10th anniversary celebration game, and the first FNAF game released August 8th, 2014. So at the very least, it should release in August, but I think the actual anniversary would be the best choice. Prediction 2. This will be the first in a series of Fazbear Fright's game adaptations. I believe these games will all be approximately 2-hour experiences, all centering on the title stories of the books. I won't say they'll do all 12, but I do believe it will end up being a series. Prediction 3. While I'm not sure that this game will intertwine with the Steel Wool Studios games and is more likely to be a separate experience focused on the books, I predict there will at least be Easter egg references to the newer games. And if Into the Pit is supposed to connect with the other games in the franchise, I have a feeling they're not going to outright tell us. It's just something we'll have to figure out by playing the game. Okay, predictions over. Let's move into theory territory. Get your tomatoes ready because this is about to get controversial. We all fell in the pit. Into the Pit, developed by Megacat Studios, is set to be a 2D pixel art side-scroller where we play as Oswald, the main character of the Fazbear Fright story of the same name. For those who haven't read the books or who have not watched a video going over the Into the Pit story, allow me to summarize. Oswald is a 10-year-old boy struggling with the monotony of his summer break as his parents work and aren't able to take time off for a vacation. His best friend recently moved away, so he spends his days mostly alone at the library and at a restaurant called Jeff's Pizza. Jeff's is a rundown joint that seems to have remnants of another pizza place Oswald is unfamiliar with, as it contains painted-over wall murals and a small, empty stage. It's also worth noting that Oswald likes to draw, and his more recent drawings feature animatronics that closely resemble who we know to be Freddy, Bonnie, and Chica, although Oswald has no idea who these animatronics are or why he's choosing to draw them. Oswald's boredom leads him to be resentful towards his parents, namely his dad, who is the one who's dropping him off at the library every day. And may I just say, Oswald's library slander in this book is completely unacceptable considering the fact that my local library is the reason I'm able to read the Fazbear Frights books at all. If you've never checked to see if your library has the Libby or Hoopla apps, I would do so. They are a valuable resource. But back to the story. One day, Oswald, in his frustration, decides to hide from his dad in the ball pit inside of Jeff's. A ball pit that is old, unkempt, and bears a sign that says, "Do not use." Upon entering the pit, he is seemingly transported to Freddy Fazbear's Pizza in 1985. He plays games with the other kids and even sees Freddy and the gang performing on the stage. Oswald also catches glimpses of a person walking around in a yellow rabbit suit. He learns that he can travel freely from present day to 1985 by using the ball pit, and decides that is how he'll spend his summer break. However, one day he enters the pit, and the atmosphere at Freddy's is very different. People are screaming and running out of the restaurant in horror. He sees the person in the yellow rabbit suit, and it gestures for Oswald to follow it into the party room. He follows, believing he can't be hurt since he's yet to be born, which feels illogical, but he's 10. When he enters the room, he sees a row of dead children sitting in chairs wearing party hats. The yellow rabbit tries to grab Oswald and he runs away and into the ball pit where he is pulled out by his father and Jeff. As his father scolds him for hiding, the yellow rabbit jumps out of the ball pit and grabs his father. The two fight until only the rabbit emerges. To Oswald's dismay, everyone around him sees the yellow rabbit as his father, and the yellow rabbit doesn't say a word to Oswald. Ultimately, he decides it is best to pretend nothing is wrong. Later in the night, he sneaks out of his house and back to Jeff's Pizza, where he distracts the owner so he can slip back into the pit and find his father. He finds him unconscious, but before he can get him to safety, the rabbit grabs Oswald. He's able to break free of the rabbit and get it tangled in the ball pit's netting. When his dad regains consciousness, he has no memory of the rabbit's attack, or the rabbit at all. Oswald chooses to lie and says that his dad just hit his head, and that is how the story ends. As you saw in the game clips provided throughout the summary, Into the Pit appears as if it will follow the story, but other leaked info suggests there will be changes. I know people are already going over a lot more of the Into the Pit information, but since a lot of it has been taken down, I'm going to hold off for now just in case anything changes. But as for my theory, when this book first arrived on shelves and theorists began combing through the pages for crumbs of lore, the ball pit was often referred to as a time-traveling ball pit.
Time-traveling ball pit. The time travel ball pit.
Time-traveling ball pit.
However, later books in the Fazbear Fright series would introduce readers to Agony. And no, I'm not referring to the agonizing experience of reading a book about a MatPat insert giving birth to Springtrap. Agony is described in the books in terms of possession and hauntings. The theory is proposed by Phineas Taggart in Fazbear Frights number 3, 1:35 a.m. It reads as follows. I'm convinced that agony has a greater energetic radius and power than any other emotion. I have done numerous experiments to measure, capture, contain, and study the leftover emotion embedded into objects that were near a tragedy. My work is focused on my hypothesis that you can take a saturation of agony, add any kind of intelligence, even an artificial one, and they will combine together to transmute the energy of emotion into the energy of physical action. This, I believe, is what explains what people call haunted objects. So rather than an object being possessed by a spirit, it was the energy related to the tragedy that would take hold of the object. In my opinion, agony is the explanation for the ball pit. Oswald is not literally time traveling when entering the pit. Instead, he is connecting with the agony with which the ball pit is infused. And this is not my thought alone, of course, but I don't want to speak as though it's fact since I know many still refer to it as a time-traveling device, and I don't want to discount other interpretations. But to me, what Oswald is experiencing are memories, specifically the memory of the missing child incident. Now, before I continue, I know the books are not 100% canon to the games, but we do have clear evidence showing that the book lore can be used to help us understand the games. Remnant is a substance first mentioned in the books. Then in FNAF 6, it's revealed that the scooper used in Sister Location contains a remnant reservoir. The books have given us character names, and the Tales from the Pizzaplex books contain an entire story about Gregory, the protagonist of Security Breach. So while I'm not suggesting that Oswald and his adventures in the haunted ball pit are canon to the games, I am saying I believe Agony and Remnant are at play in our modern FNAF games, and they have the power to show people memories of past tragedies. In Help Wanted 1, the game ends very similarly to Oswald's story. A yellow rabbit beckons us to a party room, and when we follow it, we are presumably attacked and killed. When we awake, we meet the same fate as the missing children, stuffed inside an animatronic suit. And how did the game devs create the VR game? they scanned in circuit boards. Circuit boards that Tape Girl says look pretty old. And after they're scanned, Glitch Trap starts appearing. If those circuit boards came from old Freddy's locations and animatronics, they could have easily been imbued with Agony and then combined with the artificial intelligence used to develop the games. It's not a literal virus that causes everything to go wrong in the first Help Wanted. It's just that Agony infected it. Tape Girl even says the code seemed to take hold by itself. And while we're making connections involving Tape Girl, let's also remember what she says to us about what the anomaly wants.
It wants to escape through someone plugged into this game.
And in Oswald's story, how does the rabbit escape? Through Oswald's father. Oswald gave it someone to escape through. The Fazbear Fright stories set up this combination of Agony and artificial intelligence long before the stories of the Mimic from Tales of the Pizzaplex. You can even draw parallels between the Tangle and the Stitch Wraith. And look, I don't have time to summarize every Stitch Wraith story right now, so if you're unaware, just know it's an entity created by Agony experiments, controlled by multiple spirits, some good, some bad. The good parts of the Stitch Wraith want to destroy items imbued with Agony to keep them from hurting people, but William Afton, who is one of the entities that exists inside the Stitch Wraith, begins to fuse his burnt ethereal body with the infected items. It's a lot, and that's a very, very brief summary. But we see the Tangle as a mass of animatronic parts that have all been part of some tragic event, and in Security Breach, it takes Burn Trap to presumably try to destroy it. In my opinion, if Tangle was already under the control of Afton or Glitch Trap, it wouldn't have intervened in that moment. It even seems to try to scare us away from traversing down further into the old pizzeria. But regrouping away from the Tangle and back to the matter at hand. In Help Wanted 2, Cassie's dad isn't just playing training minigames. He's exploring past memories, but not his own memories, just as Oswald isn't experiencing his own memories. Just because Carney speaks to him as himself doesn't mean that ever really happened. Oswald interacts with multiple people in the pit. There are so many parallels between this first Fazbear Fright story and the modern FNAF games, right down to the protagonist. Oswald is a 10-year-old boy with brown hair and brown eyes who displays a fair bit of pent-up frustration and angst. He has a knack for drawing. He's low on patience. He's simultaneously not afraid to follow the directions of a threatening yellow rabbit entity, but also seriously kick butt when necessary. He's even wearing a striped shirt, for goodness sake. I am more convinced now than ever that Gregory is Cassie's brother, and thus the son of the Fazbear technician we play as in Help Wanted 2. Carney even says we look like we have kids, plural. He probably accompanied his dad to work and eventually found himself lured in by a rabbit, falling under the control of Glitch Trap. It could even be how he learns that the Pizzaplex is linked to the recent disappearances, just like Oswald learns about the missing child incident by following the rabbit into the party room. So Gregory goes missing, and of course, his dad starts looking for him. Maybe that's how he gets so deep into the Princess Quest games, assuming you believe that storyline is also about Cassie's dad. He knew Gregory played the arcade machines and had all the high scores. I'll admit it would be a weird lead, but he has a lot of knowledge about the inner workings of the Plex. It's possible he stumbled upon it and made the connection. Oswald's dad gets captured by the yellow rabbit because he's looking for his son, but the son ultimately escapes. Unless the game is lying to us, I believe the entirety of Security Breach is Gregory coming out from under Glitch Trap's control. I have a whole separate theory about that I'm still piecing together. So Gregory is freed, but now his father has been taken by the evil yellow rabbit. That being said, I worry our Fazbear technician met a much more gruesome fate than Oswald's dad. I believe the story of Into the Pit was trying to get us in the mindset of Agony getting a grip on someone's mind, enticing them into something that seems desirable at first, but ultimately causes something with bad intentions to escape through the person and assume their identity. Maybe it was just chance that Oswald's dad was taken instead of Oswald himself, or maybe it was waiting for just the right person to get too close. I've had this weird hunch about Gregory and Oswald for a while, but until I watched the game trailer, I never really went back and connected the dots. Now, I'm not saying Gregory is Oswald. I'm just saying I believe Scott was trying to give us information about what was happening in the new FNAF games. Help Wanted 1 was released in May of 2019, and the first Fazbear Frights book was released later that year in December, so they were being developed at the same time. It is not a coincidence that both of these stories feature a yellow rabbit leading us into a party room, and both show us memories of past Fazbear-related tragedies. It is not a coincidence that in both of these stories, the yellow rabbit goes on to interact with the real world by escaping through another person. Heck, it's even worth noting that in the Into the Pit story, Oswald's dad gets nervous when asked about Freddy Fazbear's and doesn't really want to talk about it. And in Help Wanted, Fazbear Entertainment is making the video games as a cover-up, and Cassie's dad won't tell her what happened to Glamrock Bonnie. But hey, that's just my theory, and I know it's a wild one. Before I sign off, I do want to make it clear that when I said everything else can wait while I make this video, I meant that. I had an entirely different video planned for this week. It's already filmed. But then Scott gave the go-ahead for people to discuss Into the Pit, and when I watched the trailer, my mind started racing. I researched and wrote this in a day. Yesterday, to be exact, because today was the only time I had this week to sit down and record this. So if I missed anything, or if I misspoke at any point in this video, please let me know in the comments below so that I can correct it. If I unlock the ability to pin comments, I'll make a corrections comment and hopefully people will see it. Regardless, I would love to know what you think, so keep the discussion going and I'll respond to as many of you as I can. Thank you so much, not just for watching the video, but for subscribing. We hit 1,000 subscribers recently and I'm totally over the moon. I'm so grateful. Please continue to like the videos and subscribe for more FNAF and internet horror content. One of the videos you see on screen is one YouTube picked just for you, and the other one is my recent deep dive on Helpy. Remember to turn on bell notifications when you subscribe and become a part of the nervous system. I upload every Friday, and that bell icon will let you know when my video is ready. Thanks! Bye!